Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's Creative Technology panel for the blooloop Festival of Innovation. My name is Jon Tozer. I'm the VP of Global Delivery at Holovis, and it's my absolute pleasure today to be speaking to three of our industry colleagues from various different companies across the industry. So I would love to hear from you guys and a bit about who you are and what you do in the company you're representing. So in no particular order, Pearl, how's it going?
Hello, how's everybody doing today? I'm Pearl Verzosa. I actually work at Area 15 out in Las Vegas, if you haven't had an opportunity to join. We are a large entertainment district only minutes from the Strip, and we have everything from immersive experiences, food and beverage, entertainment, nightlife, very kid-friendly as well as fun for 21 and up throughout the week and the weekends.
Cool, thank you, Pearl. That sounds super exciting. Love it out there. Neil, please let us know who you are and who you represent.
Hey everyone, great to see you. So I'm Neil Lewin from Semantic. So we essentially do websites for attractions, so helping to bring attractions to life online. All about kind of using your website as an enabler, really. So hoping to be the fastest place to try out new ideas, get data in terms of what's working, and then just kind of keeping pace with attractions marketing needs, essentially.
Cool. Well, thank you, Neil. And Matt, let's finish off with a bit about you.
Hi, I'm Matt Uzi. I am a technical manager for Netflix experiences. We are the streaming platform Netflix, and my group is responsible for all of the wonderful experiences that bring people into our shows.
Superb. Well, it's a pleasure to be chatting with you all today as we kind of move through the next 45 minutes or so and getting some great insight from across the industry. So, Matt, I'll stick with you actually, since you were the last to chat to us there. So Netflix rapidly expanding in the LBE space. Thinking about some of the experiences that you brought online recently, what are some of the experiences you brought to life, and how did technology play a role in those experiences?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, John. We're constantly on the lookout for new technologies to kind of help give our viewers and guests the chance to really immerse themselves in their favorite shows, right? So finding new ways to allow the viewers to interact with these worlds that they've only seen, maybe like on their television, and really give agency over like the outcome of their story. So one of the things that we have done recently is our Squid Games, the Trials experience, which is currently running in New York right now. To capture the suspense and the fun of the series, we really look to gaming. So gaming technology to deliver on really key components. And one of them is really choice. When you play a video game, you have multiple choices that you can go down or choose to do. For example, players in our experience could choose not to follow directions. I wouldn't advise it, but they could not succeed in their task. They could, ultimately lose a game. And so the story and the experience has to adapt to all of their decisions and really influence the outcome of the game in general. So the integration of passive and active sensing technology allows us to really track the player's progression and really gaming strategy in real time so that we can dynamically adjust the experience. And I think that's something that you're going to see as this kind of field grows. How do we actually change things according to players' reactions and choices? And this was really, really vital for like the Squid Games experience narrative, because everything you do about that game is the choices that you make and how well you do.
Thanks, Matt. So, Pearl, definitely building off that, your experiences with Area 15 cover a lot of those grounds too. Is there anything more that really you can expand on that you guys are doing, which is real cool and neat, and boundary pushing for the industry?
Yeah, what's interesting is we're the type of experience that welcomes like the experiences that Netflix is creating. So we work with Meow Wolf and Megamart, as well as the Luminarium, that has amazing projections, haptic, and audio. Universal Horror Unleashed is coming next year as well. I think on the tech side, Superplastic's Dopamine, which just recently opened, is using RFID to connect with their participants. And I don't want to give it away, but throughout the journey, you actually start to gain pleasure points in which as you go through it, the happier you are, the more you receive from the game itself. We also internally develop our own micro attractions. So using Depоx with what a game we call Vortex Rover, so you can help build a robot, or deeply within our narrative, we use a mobile scavenger hunt so people can go around and learn about what Area 15 is and how it came to be. And then similar to what Matt said, a lot of this is about taking the spectator to a participant, right? How you take someone who's just observing to really then become part of the journey itself, so that the entire customer experience is about them becoming part of the story and the narrative.
That's cool. I myself yet am to experience Area 15 in Vegas, but it's absolutely on my bucket list. I see the Meow Wolf and the Illuminarium, and obviously the Horror Night stuff that's coming. It looks so fantastic. So I think there's a trip for me to Vegas coming up.
I'm saying everyone on this call and watching is welcome to be my guest. So please look me up when you're here, and we'll make sure you have a great time.
That's a big tick, Pearl, for me. Absolutely. So then, Neil, looking at the very important work that you do for the industry in attracting and bringing guests to the experiences that we all help to create, can you kind of expand a bit more about Semantic, what you do, and then kind of leaning into what Matt and Pearl just said about how to kind of get those experiences across to guests before they actually maybe even buy a ticket?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what we do from the supplier side is that kind of trying to bring the attractions to life online, and just telling the stories is really important right the way through. So it's kind of shifted, I think, over the last few years, where clients are seeing the website much more as an integral part of the overall guest experience, rather than just kind of a brochure and a mechanism to sell tickets. So making sure we're bringing the attraction to life online, showcasing the value proposition, and tailoring that to the guest needs is really important. But what we found over the last few years is, because the pace of technology is moving on so quickly, it's just getting harder and harder for attraction owners and marketers to keep pace with all of that change. So we developed a platform so attractions can just get up online really quickly, with fast websites sort of out of the box. We can kind of tailor it to the attraction's needs, skin it all so it looks really great, but then the kind of underpinnings are technically really sound and using all the best practices, and then the marketers can kind of get on kind of bringing the stories to life and showcasing everything that their attraction does. And that's all about using kind of dynamic content blocks, elements, kind of timelines, interactive maps, and other kind of content to just bring the attractions to life, essentially. But treating that core website as an overall part of the guest experience, because often it can be the first thing a guest sees as well, like their first experience with your brand. So sort of like your shop window, and then you're kind of enticing them in to explore further, and obviously ultimately making it really easy to buy tickets and try and upsell them and maximize the revenue as well.
Thanks, Neil. I for sure think, as we're looking at the beginning of 2025, that we can all agree there's some absolutely incredible projects that are coming online in the year. We at Holovis are fortunate enough to be involved with a lot of the big projects that are coming out in the year. So as we kind of help to integrate tech into theme parks, immersive experience and things, there's a lot of good stuff happening around the industry. And of course, we've got our 360 Golf product, which you guys may have seen at IAPA, which we are super excited to bring, or to continue bringing to the market. So it's going to be a big year, and I think that we all have a big part to play in that as well, which is fantastic. So carrying on with the questions then, this is a question to each of you, but I'll start with Matt. On this one. So Matt, tell us about some of the key trends that you're seeing in the market right now, and maybe even any interesting innovations that you're seeing along with those trends.
Sure. So one of the things that I'm really excited about that you're seeing a trend over the last couple of years is gaming in attractions. And so that could really span the area of walkthrough attractions, museums, all the way up to really large scale rides. And I think that's what's so interesting about this is, can you have control over your environments like a video game? Can you influence the ride vehicle's movements, the special effects that go off, the outcome of the actual journey, the guest journey? And can you make it feel different every time you ride? And so I think we're scratching the surface on this about, what pieces of technology can deliver that feeling of the ultimate choice, right? You can sit in your home and play a video game, but there is something so unique and special about being able to experience it. But those mechanics that are really familiar to people who play video games, that's what I think we're going to start to see more integrated into attractions. On the other side of that, I think what is an interesting invention that I've seen, food tech. So one of the really fun things that I've been seeing is this idea of, how do you make either like themed food or food that people have only dreamed about, right? Like what is a mythical a beast taste like, right? Like plants mimicking meat. I think there's this space where you can really tap into the imagination of using that sense of taste to really set people in an environment that they've never been before, maybe they wanted to be in. So you have things like 3D food printers that are coming online now, and still very, again, very early in its development and technology, and it'll only get better and better and better. But you can imagine how just as we use other types of mechanisms like scent and visuals and special effects to really place people, let's do it with their taste buds as well.
So my next question.
There's a really good example.
Sorry. I just have to ask you if Pearl's got a mythical beast burger in Area 15.
No, but we do have a restaurant called The Beast in which we actually do have like food experiences. Yeah. So if you get like the Feast of the Beast, it is this ginormous like amount of food that comes with a gong and the whole feeling. So exactly it's like trying to build everything from like sight, sound, hearing, taste, the whole nine, like everything that you would consider an experience and something that you wouldn't do at home. So exactly what Matt was saying, you can play video games. I come from the video game industry previous to Area 15, and there's gamification and there's streaming with people and there's playing with your friends, but bringing people into an environment where they can enjoy the experience with people who they're with, but also people they don't know, connection in real time, right? It is slowly taking the way of, say, going to a bar, going to a club. Now people are going to experience this as part of their regular entertainment. I think that's actually a big trend that we're seeing. We're starting to see more people wanting these environments where they can become part of an immersive experience, whether it's their favorite TV show or their favorite game or their favorite movie or something they've never experienced before.
There's a great example on the food tech. I don't know if you've been to the Guinness factory, I think it is in Dublin, but they print your selfie on the top of the pint, which is amazing. It's like, such a good kind of Instagrammable moment. It's very impressive. So simple as well, but very cool.
Yeah. I want to add to you, like on the trend side, on the back end of it, though, what I am seeing the most, and obviously we all talk about AI very regularly, but it's actually decreased the amount of time it takes to concept a new experience or concept what something might look like, even down to say, we'll say use food tech as an ongoing example. Utilizing AI to say, this is what this thing might look like, and then getting people to give their reactions to it earlier, surveying future guests, pushing it within the marketing workflow, and then determining whether this would be a successful experience. That I think is a huge trend on our side, at least. It really decreased the amount of time, effort, as well as cost and investment in concepting experience before it goes to market.
Are you seeing that as a similar trend on the website, Neil? The use of AI and large language models and things like that?
It's just starting to come in, I think. Some clients are kind of further ahead than others. So I think most of the trends we're seeing is kind of content generation and drafting out content, and the concept artwork, that kind of thing. Or if clients have got big data sets and they want to analyze, that's really useful. And the other area I particularly like is obviously now ChatGPT can browse the web. You can put in kind of competitor websites and start seeing gaps and analyze where you're at as well. So kind of looking at where you're kind of ranking and any gaps and things you might like to investigate further. I realized I should have said what the name of our platform actually was as well, shouldn't I? So it's called Loop. So it's a website platform for attractions. So have a look for Loop by Semantic and you'll find it. But a really good way of just kind of getting online really fast. A website that always stays up to date.
So without giving any away all of your intellectual property, Neil, I'm definitely interested to know how you see maybe Loop or your field of expertise within the attractions industry kind of pushing the advancements of tech, and what really comes next for your world. Obviously, we're talking about AI now and all of these things, but do you see any big, large advancement steps in your particular part of the market?
Yes, I think there's the overall, like we were touching on earlier, with the storytelling and trying to tailor that to each guest. So there's more and more a shift of attractions to try and tell their stories and just go beyond that kind of, pay once and you come and visit and then you go and forget. It's trying to tell the stories and the reasoning and like why that attraction or brand even exists, which is really relevant to, like, we do a lot of work with wildlife attractions and kind of historical and heritage sites as well. So if they can show why they exist and tell the stories, you're kind of moving from a transactional relationship to a much more relational relationship. And then you can obviously start kind of letting people visit more than once and start building kind of legacies and donations and that kind of thing. Obviously, if they're kind of charities, it doesn't work so well just donating to shopping center experiences or something. But so that shifting to storytelling and showing the purpose is really key, and also kind of helping them. So we kind of want to help attractions diversify revenue streams much more. So again, it's less transactional and so kind of dependent on external factors. So that's more about how can we map out higher value ticket items or VIP experiences, kind of recurring products, that kind of thing. So just trying to diversify away from visitor comes, spends some money and then goes. It's like, how can we create content strategies and kind of video and content online to keep that relationship going as well. And then finally, it's all around the kind of data-driven decision making as well. So it used to be kind of easier to capture a lot of the data because Google Analytics would just cover it all, but that's kind of shifting now with all the cookies changes and everything. So trying to get your own data warehouse and server-side tracking is going to be much more important, so that then you can kind of analyze that data and make better decisions off the back of it. And a lot of that's really easy to do. Like, you can set up kind of quick surveys and heat maps and like user testing videos, so you can see actual users using your site, and that can be really good to kind of showcase weaknesses and gaps in your site around your team as well, particularly on the website side of things. But you can obviously use a test right through the online journey as well and just catch any particular weaknesses.
There were some really interesting things that you were saying in there, which I think definitely correlate to, at least what Holovis does. We're a technology integration company, and we allow our tech to be the toolbox to help tell the story. So the story always comes before the tech. We just can tell bigger, better, more interesting stories with the tech, but we try not to be led by the tech, because it can lead us to some good decisions and some bad decisions too. Do you find that with your client base that if you do have the next generation cutting edge technology, which might be a USP for a particular attraction or a particular client, do you find that your clients, when they're getting their attractions across to guests through websites, are they led more by story or led more by technology when it comes to kind of marketing these experiences?
Interesting. I think a lot of them are just led mainly by the revenue they can generate.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then everything else follows from that. But I think it's all
So
about
what do you think generates more revenue? Is it story
mm,
or is it tech?
I think it's unique value propositions, which it's going to be a mix of both, isn't it? So the kind of the story and the tech. But yeah, you've got to get the story right first, and then you can, if you've got cool tech behind it, then you can make that look good online as well. So I think it is just that kind of finding the edge over competitors with the innovative technology, so that they just stand out. And I think a lot of that tech is becoming more cost effective and easier to implement, and actually guest experience or guest expectations, sorry, are starting to ramp up anyway in terms of what the technology is in place. And Pearl and Matt probably have a bit more of a sense of how that is kind of day to day, but that kind of expectations, like people are all used to their kind of iPhones getting really, really good. So it's that kind of, how does that translate into the on the day experience as well?
Cool. So Pearl, with Area 15, where you have IP-driven experiences where the guests might have some form of expectation of what to expect, and then you've got brand new, unique stories like the Meow Wolf stuff and the Omega Mart and these things, which are just completely kind of unique worlds. Are you finding that it's the tech driving the story driving the tech, bit of both? What are you seeing as kind of the trend at the moment in that kind of process?
Yeah. I think it's actually both. I think it's really important. I mean, obviously, we have seen this amazing influx of IP-driven experiences. Everything like what Netflix is doing, or what Fever, what Marvel, etc. And so all these major IP groups are actually bringing these cool experiences. I mean, Wicked is a great example, right? The new Wicked experience on top of its launch of a movie. But with that, I mean, there are those expectations. Customers and guests have an idea depending on how much their fandom. So a lot of this comes down to fandom. Like if they are super fans, their expectations are really high. So you have to get it right. Otherwise you don't want to lose that fan. When it comes to original content, which we're doing for our microtransactions, that I think is a surprise and delight that people are not expecting when they go through these multi-venue experiences or attraction-based places like ours. Like on one hand, you do something that you know, and then on the other hand, you kind of let your imagination take over by doing something you have never tried before or even learned. And for us, that's the balance. It's like, how do we give a little bit of surprise and delight and give them something like, oh my God, this is so cool. You have to go there. You've never tried it before. I think Super Plastics Dopamine is a great example of that. Right here is a company that's done really well with creating a character-based narrative, and it's now coming into an experience for the first time. And then we've got the opposite. Like we just announced Felix and Paul Studios is coming with Interstellar Arc, which is going to be this epic, massive experience, which some people may have never seen or haven't ever seen. And so they get to leave our attraction or our complex with kind of both things in one day. You get like surprise and delight, and you get something you know.
What would you say is the expectation of the guests coming to Area 15? Are they expecting high tech and tech-driven experiences? Are people unsure what they're going to see? Because in some cases it's avant-garde and cool. Do you think that the amount of tech that you're applying is kind of driving those ticket sales for you guys?
I don't. I would love to say that guests are coming for the tech. I don't think that's it. I think they're coming for the experience, and they want the tech to be as seamless as possible, right? They almost want it to be as if they're picking up their phone and using it, and it's not difficult to understand, so they can just straight to the point and enjoy themselves. I think when they get to try something for the first time, like a VR headset, if you're a household that doesn't have one, it opens their eyes to this technology that they can bring home. And that I think is important to us. It's like, here's something you can try and then take it home with you. Well, not ours, but go home and do it yourself. But there's the notion that tech is going to drive someone to our building, I think isn't quite that. I think it's about a place that you can unlock your imagination, right? Like, this is something curious. I want to see what it is. When I get there, we'll try these new things. And that's important to us. And it's also why we want to work with a lot of IP companies, because they bring the story and they bring things that people are knowledgeable about. And like for Army of the Dead VR experience, people come to Army of the Dead VR experience because they know the story. For the upcoming John Wick experience, John Wick fans are coming because they know the story.
I think that with Area 15, you guys have such large array of different things, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got the original and the unique stuff, and then you've got the IP driven stuff as well. Talk about IP driven stuff. We have Mr. Matt Osei, who is sat there patiently. So Matt, really interested to know from you, if from your perspective, if you think that it's story that's driving your experiences, or it's tech that's driving your experiences, because we both know that they're kind of one and the same. But which kind of leads out in those two elements?
Yeah, I think in general, I agree. I think it could be both. I often think back to like a World's Fair, right? And so when you went to a World's Fair, it was an amazing array of new technology and innovation and things that you haven't seen before. And when you go there, it's so new and novel that you have to be the first person to try it, right? And so that's why I think that it can be both. The technology could be a centerpiece around an experience. I know that as entertainment design's gotten more formalized, and that we're told that the technology should drive the story, right? And I think for most part that rings true, but can the advancement of technology be the story? I mean, think of something like Spaceship Earth, this wonderful attraction that everyone really holds dear to their heart. It is about the innovation of humankind and how we've progressed over the years. Think about a roller coaster. A roller coaster is just a culmination of engineering marvel that is just taking people on this exciting ride. And you go to that roller coaster because it's a brand new roller coaster, because it's something that you've never seen before, experienced, or ridden before. And I think that needs to be celebrated a little bit, right? And it's going to be attractive for people who just want to ride it and have never seen it before. And I feel like ultimately guests want to be thrilled. They want to experience something, something that ignites all of their senses and to really deliver upon those emotions of wish fulfillment, right? I've never seen this before. I want to try it. I've never ridden this before. I want to ride that. And that's really, the adoption of the technology, it's the evolution of the technology, because it's going to be required for us to deliver on those experiences. So I think it's both.
Yeah, you had some super interesting points in your answer there about really kind of getting to why guests are going through the experiences that we help to create. What's your thoughts on the overuse of technology, and how and what are some of the lessons that we have to keep reminding ourselves? We have all this stuff available to us. They all doesn't necessarily need to go in at once. What's the kind of formula there, do you think, for kind of the story wins out?
That's a very good question, because for me, it's really not formulaic, right? It's very much, we approach projects with fresh eyes, right? We are looking at the piece of technology, the special effects, the illusions, pulling from different areas to really tell the guest journey and the story. And I think that is the overall guiding principle behind it, is that we want to be able to have an environment that is tailored and helps drive the guest's imagination forward. And really that could be something, again, that is more on the engineering heavy side. Do we want to showcase the technology and make it really well known to everyone because it's involved in the story? It's sci-fi, it's doing something to where that's taking center stage. Or is it something that we're trying to replicate nature? Are we trying to replicate the elements where you're not supposed to see the technology, but you use all of the other senses to give that feeling that you are standing in a forest, that you are swimming in the ocean? So I think it very much is taken at design and really not a formula that you can pull from, but it's almost just a feeling that you have, really.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things to take on, to add to that is, let's talk like LED screens. They're everywhere now. I mean, look at, I live in a city where I see the sphere every single morning on my drive to work, right? But in some cases, you almost don't even notice that they're there, especially throughout some of the resorts here. And we utilize LED screens not only for promotional, but for environment. If you walk into our 360 projection room, it's just environmental. And it may shift very subtly just to feel like the room has went from day to night, or however your normal day would look like, but within four walls. And if we can do that successfully, I think technology and what we do is no different than choreographing a dance. Like if you can do it gracefully, there is a start, a beginning, and an end, but ideally a memory of it. And that memory stays for a long time, and a feeling and emotion that comes out of it. That is, from my perspective, our goal. Our goal is, how do we make technology part of the experience versus it being so heavy-handed, unless, again, you're doing something very sci-fi and it's intentional, and we want people to feel like they're part of a battle and they feel all the haptic, the guns hitting them, etc. Until then, though, if it becomes part of the actual atmosphere, we've done a very good job.
I could not agree more about the use of technology that just kind of melts away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It establishes the environment. I always love walking into experiences where just my presence alone activates the space.
Yep.
So me walking around, not doing anything, just being there really transforms the area into something that's super unique, and also feels very personable, right? Going for a walk in a forest by yourself, mist in the air, wind blowing, right? That's a personal experience. And if you can capture that in a moment, like Pearl said, people remember that and it becomes a memorable experience.
Yep. And then I'm kind of like what Neil's world is, if I can get the guests to be prepared for the journey, right, by using the website, by getting them the right information ahead of time for them, adding their information in the right forms, as simple as that, so that by the time they come here and we know who they are and where they belong and what they need to do, and that becomes a flawless experience for them. And then afterwards, we say hello 2 days later. We drop off whatever the character is that they experience. We give them another clue for their next adventure or their return. Then that now has encapsulated the entire universe of what we're trying to do with experiences. It is so critical that the website give them as much information to get them ready for it, but without divulging what they're actually going to come to.
We have quite a lot of that with clients where you kind of debate, how much of the experience do you show on the website before they go? And does it give away all the surprises and that kind of thing? But in reality, 90% plus of guests will be on their mobiles, so you can't replicate a big immersive experience on a tiny little kind of mobile phone screen. So normally we try and advise clients that you try and put as much out there as possible and get them really excited about the experience. Obviously hold off on surprises and things, but ultimately it's showcasing the attraction so that customers can see that that's worth paying for. And a lot of the immersive experiences now can be quite high end as well, quite expensive. So yeah, it's all about reassuring the guests right the way through. And we kind of look at how can we blend the online and offline experience a bit more as well. That's kind of a trend we're kind of exploring at the moment too. But
do you find, really Neil, that guests are returning back to your website once they've done the experience? So Pearl gave a real very good answer there about kind of connecting to the space, and Matt was talking about being present and having a visceral feeling of the worlds that we create. And often what that can do is it can kind of stick with you even once you've completed the experience. You could often think 1, 2, 3 days afterwards, maybe even months afterwards. Do you find that that guests will return, even if they can't physically be at these experiences? They'll use what they can on the internet in order to be able to connect with these places that have maybe in some instances change their lives?
Yeah, I think it depends. So it depends if normally, obviously, they'll need a reason to return. So whether that's because you're putting out new content quite often, or you've emailed them special offers and new kind of experiences and ideas to kind of get them back to the site. And also, it kind of depends if they're kind of more task focused, so they just want to come into the site, find out their answer to a question and leave, or if they're a bit more, okay, well, we can explore the brand, see what else they've got to offer. So that kind of ties back into telling the stories a bit better and showcasing the reasons for attractions existing in a more immersive way online as well. So yeah, if you've got the tech and the systems and the CRM tools, like the customer relationship manager tools, to kind of drive people back to the site, then yeah, absolutely, you can get them to come back. It just depends exactly how that's implemented, really, I think.
Yeah, are you seeing that there just is a trend? I guess just in web marketing and socials and all of those things to engage with guests after they've been to the experience. So following them up with a few days later with maybe a video or a snippet or a surprising delight experiences that reminds them of their time. Are you seeing that any kind of examples of that's happening in the industry and the creative use of continuing to tell that story?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few channels you can do that through, obviously, like email or push notifications, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think a lot of attractions aspire to be doing that kind of thing, and then just generally get buried with day-to-day kind of reacting to things and trying to just keep the basics up to date. So I think that's where we're quite well positioned, because they can get all the basics sorted really quickly, and then obviously focus on the higher value things as well alongside that. But yeah, so you've got the various channels to try and get them to come back. But I think the overall trend is going to be more around like hyper personalization. So tying right back to what we were talking about at the beginning, like customizing the stories and the experience to each kind of guest and demographic. So it's that kind of hyper personalization where the actual experience can evolve and change as someone goes through it based on that person's preferences, like through some of the large language models and everything. And then the post-visit kind of, it's like moments of delight. That's kind of what you want to create, isn't it? Those kind of unexpected little surprises where it's like, oh, cool, well, they've sent me this offer, or they've sent me this extra little bonus package to share with my friends or something like that. So it's just those little moments of unexpected joy that you can try and incorporate into all your comms as well, which is going to be pretty key, I think.
Cool. So going from joy to challenges, which is my elegant way to move on to the next question. I'm very suave, of course. So Neil, kind of sticking with you then. We've talked about what's kind of present and what's occurring now. We've talked about the future and the integration of technology. Let's talk about just for a second about the challenges that we are just continually facing as we're progressing and innovating and pushing forward. For you guys, then, what would you be considering some of the challenges that you might be working for or helping the industry work through? It could be your company challenges, the things that you're trying to do, or challenges that you're helping the industry solve.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about kind of our biggest challenge, but it is that kind of balancing the constant innovation and embracing new tech with just keeping the kind of operations and the day-to-day tasks and updates that everyone needs, kind of keeping that in balance, because obviously you can go totally to one extreme and just do all the innovative stuff and the new things, and then the day-to-day bits kind of drop off a bit. So I think that's kind of a challenge even for us, like as a web agency. It's all moving so fast, so quickly. Then I was just thinking, that's kind of parallel to a lot of the attractions and leisure brands. Again, like I can only imagine in somewhere like Vegas, where you've just got sort of like an arms race of different tech and everyone's trying to out tech the other people. And so it's that kind of idea where it's trying to keep on top of enough new tech to stay kind of out in front and keep kind of the creativity and the capabilities of the Loop platform really high, whilst also making sure the kind of foundations and everything are constantly being updated and adapted. But yeah, we're sort of always weighing up, the impact versus the return and how much effort it is. And I suppose we try and review things as, okay, well, what's the impact in the ROI versus how much or how easy it is to roll back as well. But yeah, I think with our Loop platform, we're quite well positioned to capitalize on all the new tech and keep it kind of fresh and up to date too, which is great.
Cool. And then Pearl, Neil actually touched on some, maybe they are challenges for you in the Vegas marketplace or potentially, but what are some of the specific Area 15 challenges that you might be working through, or indeed some of the kind of industry challenges that we're all seeing that you're kind of proactively addressing?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest challenges at this very moment is just tourism and economic trends, right? It's experiences are definitely things people want to do, but do they have to do them? I think that we do fill the void, though, of like ensuring that they have these really great moments in their life and the things that they can do, like socially with their friends as groups. As far as tech's concerned, my biggest challenge is discipline. It's how to create discipline within the company and within the environments that we're in the sense of, do we need that much tech? Again, so it's like, how do you find the balance of just enough so that it's not overwhelming to the guest? And then the opposite is ensuring that the guests have familiarity with the tech. Like in Vegas, because we are such a large tourism city, there's some people that have never tried it. And so when they haven't tried, like even goggles, for example, the throughput shifts a little bit, right? So you've got capacity issues and people moving through. You kind of make assumptions. You're like, oh, turn on your phone, put on the thing, do the thing. And then you realize this person has no idea what this thing is or even how to like adjust their point of view or how to look through it. And then that shifts a little bit. So we have to be very delicate about throughput and how quickly we expect someone to move through an experience if they're not familiar with the tech. Like that, I think, is a challenge as well. It's like, how do you know, right? How do you know, or how do you actually forecast, especially in experiences, like everything down to a person's physical being on a D-box chair. Is that going to feel good for them if they're, here's a good example. We actually had during March Madness, a college basketball team come in and we're realizing, oh no, they're not going to fit in the taco truck at Army of the Dead as an entire team. So how do you adjust for just even variables you may not have considered in building out the experience?
Yeah, I think I challenge that we have as Holovis in there. Actually, you're talking about the application of the tech and guests using the tech. For us, it's teaching operators how to maintain the tech because we know the tech extremely well, and we spend so much time with it, designing it, integrating it, commissioning it, bringing it online. But the tech is so advanced now that your standard operator might not have much of a chance, or you have to just rely on one or two really smart people to kind of figure it out. So bringing the tech into the market space and then an attraction being underpinned by that tech and then leaving can often be quite difficult for our clients to kind of make sure that it's operating up to its full potential. So Matt, just want to ask that question to you about challenges in the industry, particularly with tech. Are you seeing any challenges as Netflix, or are you seeing challenges that you're helping the industry overcome?
Yeah, I think in taking the themed entertainment industry as a whole, I think there's a risk of becoming a monoculture. That we really need to focus on the innovation of what's next. Themed entertainment's always been a tastemaker. It's been an influencer, if you will, of what the rest of the world, wants to see. And so if you think about it, even from like the very beginnings of our industry, all of these ideas came from somewhere else, right? They came from the automotive industry, the aerospace industry. I mean, even robotics, becoming ride platforms. I mean, these were all things that were just there was a necessity behind it of people want to try something new, and so looking outwards and then bringing them inwards. It took the combined efforts of really talented people to look at something and go, I know how to use that, or I know how to misuse that, right? And that's where that innovation comes from. And I think that to mitigate the risk of being that monoculture that I spoke about, and to where we're starting to see the similar things, we have to have those new voices come in and new ideas come in, and that could be outside of our industry as well. So visitors and guests really have come to expect a new and novel every time that they invest into coming to see these attractions or these experiences, or for that matter, go and participate on their web journey and their mobile journey. That I think we really need to go out there and embrace the unknown and really try to find what is the next big thing. That should really set us up on a path to be something pretty spectacular in the future.
Cool. Well, I think that pondering point there is a really good way to leave all of the viewers with something to think about. So I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to wrap up there. So Pearl, Neil, Matt, thank you for coming online and talking today, and for the very insightful and thought-provoking conversation. Thanks for everybody that has spent time with us today watching our conversation. And up next, we have the Creative Technology Category Award winner announced now. And just one more thank you from me. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.
Thank you.
And now the winners of the 2024 blooloop Innovation Awards Creative Technology category. Third place, Advotech Lighting Pixlite A4S MK4 from Advotech Lighting. Second place, Entertainment on the Go from Forward Thinking Designs. First place, Fluid LED from Octopus Design Studio. Congratulations to all of the winners.